had a lot of back pain. I'm sitting all day, 8 hours a day for 5 days. And it was to the point where I wanted to call like a surgeon. I finally got an MRI, which showed an L5-S1 disc herniation. It particularly affected my work. It was miserable. I just needed something that held me accountable, that outlined exactly what to do, showed me how to do it. I found this online. I just saw the program, started looking into it. So I would wake up, I would play with my son, drink the coffee, and do the workouts. And it's at your own pace. A lot of these exercises I had never even heard of. And then by week 5, 6, 7, 8, I was like, oh, I'm feeling a lot better. If taken slowly, the program is more of a crescendo up to more intense. So I have a 2-year-old son, and then I have number 2 here in a couple of weeks coming. Through the first year of his life, I'd find myself in this chair, this rocking chair, holding him just like, oh, I need to put him down because my back hurts. Fast forward to the second year of his life, like, I'm good. I can sit in this chair, with pretty much pain-free. I would just say if you're thinking about it, do it. If you're not thinking about it, you should be.
Before we get started on this conversation, I want to welcome you to the Wealth Podcast, where I interview some of our members who take control of their health and overcome and eliminate years of chronic pain and injury. Now, today we'll hear a little bit about how Luke healed an L5-S1 disc herniation, back pain, and is almost entirely pain-free in just a matter of a few months. Now, if you are struggling with back, hip, shoulder, or neck pain, use code PAINFREE in all caps, no spaces, on any of our programs to take $100 off and start taking your life back today. Now let's jump in. Yeah, Luke, so you started in November 15th for the Limitless program with back pain, I believe some disc stuff. So why don't you take me through why you even got started then?
Sure. So back pain really goes back further than that. Had a lot of back pain in high school and early college from basketball, soccer, running track, lifting weights, particularly deadlifting and squatting used to really bother my low back. Probably just not flexible enough, I think, particularly my hips and my low back. But in any case, it would always bother me. And then it became more of a chronic pain end of high school, early college. And like we were texting about and we've talked about, I had some luck with the extensions, the McKenzie method, did it for like 2 weeks and no back pain anymore. It was amazing. And then go ahead.
Yeah. What age was that when that?
Like 20 is probably why it worked.
Okay. And how old are you right now?
I'm 29.
Okay. So about a decade ago, while dealing with back pain, you did the McKenzie method, and that was very helpful.
Super helpful. And then, fast forward to when I was like 27, 28, got back into squatting. I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it another try. Or I had avoided it for the most part. And did some squats, got back into it, and then started increasing in weight and intensity and didn't feel anything when it happened. But the next day, the pain was back from before and much worse. And I think it was one of those things where maybe I had a disc issue that I corrected and then made it even worse, and it wasn't going to be so easy to correct. So like I started going McKenzie again, obviously, and actually started having different back pain, almost like I was overdoing it and forcing McKenzie. So in any case, it wasn't working. So I sought chiropractic care, which did help some, I'll say, doing a flexion extension table, and he gave the advice, strengthen your core, that sort of thing. But I don't feel that it was, comprehensive enough. And I didn't even do adjustments. That wasn't a part of it. I think the doctor was really good. And my brother-in-law is actually a fantastic physical therapist, believe it or not. And he kind of knew what I had going on. I finally got an MRI, which I had never done before, which showed an L5-S1 disc herniation.
Okay.
He was, he would say, come over to the house after work. I'll put you through some exercises. And we'd do that. And then scheduling would kind of fall off. I couldn't make it work with my schedule to be there more consistently. He did always say, you need to be consistent with this stuff at home. Like, shout out to him. He's a fantastic physical therapist. I just needed something that held me accountable, that outlined exactly what to do, showed me how to do it, And I just felt like, I found this online. I can't even remember where. Maybe might have been Instagram or Reddit. I just saw, the program, started looking into it, read some of the testimonials, and then we started talking.
Yeah. Dude, I just had a flashback. I know exactly where I was when we were chatting on the phone. I needed that piece of info, though. I think that your brother-in-law was a PT, and I was like, oh my gosh, I literally remember where I was when I was
Yeah,
chatting with you.
yeah.
Um,
I think he got stung by a bee.
yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember I was on the grass walking back and forth and pacing. And that, I was like, okay. Hey, well, to get ready for this podcast too, I was going back and looking at her text messages and like, I was like, all right, I want to close the loop, kind of look at this. And it was funny because I have a text from you on November 16th. This was kind of making me chuckle. You're like, starting tomorrow. And then I'm like, LFG. And then 3.5 months later, you're just like, yo, finish the program. Back pain's a lot better. Just kind of laughing at that. It's like, started tomorrow. I did it. And here I am, right? Time will go by fast like that, but like it took work for you to
Dude.
get there. Now, just before we kind of get into the work that it took you to go through the program, do you have like a formal diagnosis or kind of what it is that you were dealing with?
I had an L5-S1 disc herniation.
Okay.
That was, and you could see it on the MRI, just sort of squirting out the back of my spine.
Yeah. Dude, I'm still cracking up the fact that you remember that I stepped on a bee. Um, okay. So L5-S1 herniation. And then, so like just working back though, that was kind of something that you felt early 20s collegiately. You had some success with McKenzie, but then, what did your life kind of look like after that? Was it just kind of avoiding and just being a little bit careful with your movements and stuff?
Yeah, honestly, it was just avoiding squats and deadlifts, particularly anything that was like axial loading. Not even deadlifts, not so bad. Squatting in particular, back squatting, like
Mm-hmm.
loading that spine and then going into a position that I think at the time I just wasn't flexible enough. And so,
Mm,
I would get down and my hips would lock out, so my back would start to. I actually had a problem of most people have the butt wink, right?
yeah.
I actually had a problem on the way up. I would arch.
Okay. You'd
Um,
overextend on that.
yeah, I would arch my low back a little bit, and I could feel it as I got heavier in weight.
Okay.
Um, so, in recent history, I've had more, I've adapted to that by doing more like a front goblet squat with a dumbbell. And that
Mm-hmm.
really helps. Number one, doesn't have the load on my back, but also it helps balance me, keeps the weight forward and in front of me.
Yep.
So that's really been the thing I avoided in that time.
Okay.
But it was pretty much gone there for a while, through my early 20s.
Okay. Yeah. And then the reoccurrence of that, or were you starting to freak out? Were you starting to have a little PTSD?
So at first, as you can imagine, I wasn't worried at all. I was like, I'll just hit McKenzie. This will be better, right? And then I realized, oh, I'm approaching 30.
Yeah.
This is worse than last time. And it hurt worse than last time. Like, it was to the point that because I sit so much, like through the weekend, I'm up around doing things, doing chores, even like walking, playing golf, fine. But Monday hits and I'm sitting all day, 8 hours a day for 5 days. And it was to the point where I wanted to call like a surgeon. I just wanted to jump right to get me in with an orthopedic surgeon so I can see what my options are. And one of my clients, actually, the chiropractor, was like, wait a second. Come see me first. Don't jump the surgery. And he took me through some tests that was like, yeah, you don't need surgery. I know this stinks, but you don't have tingling, numbness, no pain when you heel drop, things like that. Put me through that. So
Okay.
again, I had great professionals around me. I think that's something important. It wasn't so much that my professionals failed me. It was more that I had failed them. I didn't have something I could buy into to do every day to walk me through what to do and some accountability of a schedule. Um,
Interesting. Wow.
yeah.
So you in your mind, and so you say you're a financial planner.
hmm
So you sit, I mean, essentially 40 hours a week.
Pretty much. I mean, walk to a meeting and walk back, and that's. But
Yeah.
yes, so I try not to. And that and car rides were like the two things. Like if I knew I had a 3-hour car ride coming up, It was just going to be, sit on one leg, sit
Yeah.
on the other, lean forward, lean back. It was miserable.
So you started our program like November 16th, November 17th of 2024. How many, like, I know you had the first back pain at 20, right? But um, up until this start of our program, like, how long was that period of pain?
Probably, I want to say like 9 months to a year.
Okay. Yeah. That's not
Miserable.
fun. Not, and I assume you're a young father. You have, how old's your kid?
So I have a 2-year-old son, and then I have number two here in a couple weeks coming.
Oh my gosh. Congrats.
Yeah, and that's another thing that like through the first year of his life, it was like, for example, babies sometimes don't sleep, Cam. So,
Yeah.
I'd find myself in this chair, this rocking chair, holding him just like, oh, I need to put him down because my back hurts, but I can't. Or if I do, it's going to have, he's going to wake, all that, right? So, and even standing and bouncing him, again, it was just, I could feel my back nagging me. Fast forward to the second year of his life, like I'm good. I can sit in this chair, with pretty much pain free
Wow.
for certainly, the 20 minutes it takes to get him down. So
Sure.
that's been a huge difference that I've just noticed given his first year and his second year, and he's heavier. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it should be worse, but it's not.
So what was going through your mind for that year when, you're raising a young kid effectively and trying to be a father? I'm sure there's a lot going on there and juggling work as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your outlook on life with pain in the background?
Yeah, it was particularly just, I would say most frustrating was work. Just be having to sit. If I'm home on the weekend, I can be up, I can be doing things, and it mostly wouldn't bother me, but it particularly affected my work, which is tied into all that, right? Providing for the family and all that. To be miserable there, just it sucked.
Yeah. Are these just, is financial planning, is this just all like in-person stuff?
Pretty much, just given the geography of where we are, a lot of our clients do want to meet in person,
Okay.
but some video as well
Sure.
in the chair.
And you probably, because in my mind I was like, well, why don't you just like get a standing desk or whatever? But it's like you're in the flesh doing the thing. You can't just be like, oh, let me get up and do this
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
right? Like I got to conduct myself as a professional around my
Sure,
clients.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it
Cool.
is in person, so there was sitting, and I actually did try a standing desk. I wasn't crazy about it for one
Sure.
reason or another, but um, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, and not to say, that me saying that obviously like the standing desk is not the panacea, right? And I think there's when people, I had sciatica and back pain, people were like, well, what chair do I need? And what do I need a stand-up desk? And it's just like all these little things, like maybe I need this mattress and I need this and I need that, or I need the injection, or I need the surgery. Like you're kind of
band-aids,
looking for that one thing, right? Um, I feel like I always have to caveat, like, yeah, sometimes surgery is necessary, of course,
of
but
course.
in general, vast majority of people were looking for that one thing. So you joined Limitless. What did you learn about maybe your pre, what's the word, um, inceptions? I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. You know what I
I
mean?
think I think it was just again confirming what my brother-in-law had kind of always told me, which is there is no quick fix for this. I
Mm-hmm.
know you want to, get your disc clipped, or you want to get an adjustment that just puts everything in a line. And he was just like, dude, this isn't going to be a quick fix like you're talking about. It's not going to slap a band-aid on it, any one of those things you named, and all of a sudden no more pain. So that's what I learned is, yeah, it takes consistency
Mm-hmm.
and patience for sure. Like you said, 3.5 months, it flew by, but it didn't feel like it was flying by when, you had to, every day you need to do what the program outlines.
Yeah.
It felt kind of slow, but it was encouraging to see progress, and it wasn't immediate. I think that's another thing is, um, I always wanted to like immediately go like, oh, today, do I feel better? I did it yesterday, and it doesn't, at least for me, it didn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
It took a good, like, 4 weeks until I was like, huh, I might be feeling a little better. And then by week, 5, 6, 7, 8, I was like, oh, I'm feeling a lot better. Um, and I think that's something else too, is to keep keep going through it. Even when it starts to feel better, it can get better. So keep going, and it can get better. Um, so not to get lazy and be like, all right, it's gotten better. I'll just like slack off now.
So, I mean, how do you keep going in that time when you don't know, or did you know it's going to get better? Or how do you keep going and executing when it's not better day over day, but then suddenly it does feel like it got better day over day?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like honestly, our phone call and hearing from you say, like, look, I've seen a lot of people go through this, and most people get a lot better. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like that's the case, then I'm committed to completing the program at a minimum. Which
Right.
again, yes, 3 months flies by, but if you commit to the program and stick with it, it's not going to feel like it flies by. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard this saying, it's like the days pass slow and the years pass fast.
exactly. Right.
Right. It's like, especially when you are in pain. But now it's like, man, that was, just I'm again laughing. I'm like the bee sting 3.5 months ago, right? Or yeah,
Right.
3.5 months ago. And I'm like, that was, I have so much going on in my life. I know you do too, but it's like, wow, that was a conversation that we had. And I'm just grateful we had that conversation at that time. And now we're done with Q1 and you're, I don't want to put words in your mouth, maybe almost pain free. You're substantially less pain. I mean, how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I would say 80% pain free. I think when we set this up, maybe 3, 4 weeks ago, it was probably 60%. So
Cool.
it's getting better all the time. And I was telling my wife yesterday, um, I've gone from being in constant pain anytime I'm sitting to, if I sit too long, it's mild discomfort, right? And that's a big difference between pain and discomfort. And even sitting here for a half hour now, I have nothing. Like I'm fine. I don't need to shift. I don't need to, you know
Right.
what I mean? I'm just chilling. And I sat all day today. So,
That's so
um,
cool.
yeah. And if I do feel a little discomfort, I either pop up, take a walk, right? Walk around the office a couple times, or do a few of the exercises. You know what I mean? Throw in some movement in the spine
Hmm.
just to kind of loosen things up and get it moving. But again, there is a big difference between pain and mild discomfort. And the number one reason that I wanted to do the podcast is because of how much success I have. Like I feel like, even though I purchased the program, I almost owe it to pay it forward to tell people like, hey, this works.
Wow. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, what, so maybe you had that idea when you were dealing with pain for the year or two before you started the program, that maybe it was this one thing and I need that one adjustment, or like, I mean, you're like, maybe, did you actually seriously consider that you needed surgery?
I did. I at least wanted to see, like, get an
Okay.
MRI and see what are my options, and
Hmm.
have, a lot of like my some of my other ancillary professionals, PT, chiropractors say, watch out because some people are like eager to cut. So if you get the wrong surgeon, they could say, yeah, you need surgery when you don't. I
Hmm.
was kind of more hopeful. Um, again, one of the surgeons was, I knew, so I was kind of hopeful that he wouldn't. I was thinking he might say, yeah, you have a herniated disc, but you're 29. You don't need surgery. Go see a PT or a chiropractor. But yeah, I mean, it was bad enough. And I definitely wanted a quick fix that I would have considered it.
Mm. Well, that's great that you had that. It sounds like your brother-in-law was actually very helpful in that. And
Hoopla.
the Instagram and Reddit gods blessed us and connected us, right? So, well, okay. So, this is and why I want you on the podcast, or just, people go through our program. I don't think I made a promise to you on November 15th, like you will feel like this in this time. But I said, Luke, overwhelmingly, like like almost 99% of our members will feel like, I don't know what the exact words were, right? But like, Luke, I really think you should do the program. I really think it's going to help you. I think you're going to get pain free or almost get out of pain in, maybe this amount of time, a few months. So people hear that and they're like, what is the program? What does it look like? So what did each day look like? What did you learn? What do you think was helpful for you?
Yeah, good question. So I think and in that thread, what you said um, it works if you work it, and it might take time. So I'm not going to promise you that you're going to have one of these 2 or 3 weeks it's gone thing. It might be doing the program once. It might be doing the program 3 times. Just so that sort of thing. But what did I learn? Um, I learned that there's different aspects to mobility than just stretching. I like that the program is very fluid motion. It's not, you know, like the thing that people kept saying to me, which drove me crazy, was, "You have back pain, stretch your hamstrings, right? Stretch your hamstrings. Sit on the floor and grab your toe and just stretch your hamstrings, right?" And I used to do that, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't doing much for me. Now, having said that, I don't think there's any like super static hamstring hold in the program, but I went from the program, I would say I can get halfway down my shins before trying to touch my toes. Like I'm 6 inches from the floor at least. To now I can almost go palms down.
Wow.
Um, through the hip hinges and the spinal movement, the deep squats I love. Like one of the things is the deep squat hold. I'll do it brushing my teeth. I'll just squat down and hold it for a couple minutes just because it feels so good after. So that's what I think I learned, is that there's a lot more to mobility than what you think of as stretching.
Right. Yeah. And I think you were saying that you liked, as you're asking me, hey, should I do the program again or what should I do? I think you're just saying like, hey, I'm going to go through and, hammer some of the exercises that I love, like the pelvic glides. What were, you mentioned a few of those, but what were some of those movements that you learned through the program as well? With your pelvis, or what did you unlock there?
Yeah. So there was a couple other, I won't use names, but there were a couple other famous um, physical therapists, have written a couple books on back pain and this, that, and the
Mm-hmm.
other. And the philosophy was more like avoid certain movements. So like avoid bending over, always keep a flat back, no matter what. Tie your shoes by putting your foot up on the table and bending towards it. But through this, I realized that if taken slowly, and the program is more of a crescendo up to more intense, um, that between the pelvic tilts, um, the pelvic glides, the quadruple tilts, the hip hinges, the again the deep squat, all these things that cat cows even. Not only can I bend over or arch the back, but it can help, right? If you're at the right spot in your recovery, maybe you shouldn't be arching your back over and deadlifting if you have severe pain, right? But if you feel like you're getting better and it feels comfortable through slowly getting more mobility in the spine, yeah, I have no problem doing a forward fold now. Whereas before, I was told never, ever, ever bend over and pick something up. And I think the wealth program is you can pick up light things, right? You should be able to bend over like a normal
Right.
person.
Yeah.
Um,
Almost like we understand people have a 9 to 5, or maybe they own a business, they got a family, they got stuff to do, they have a life, right? And they come to us with pain. And so there are different approaches out there, some that are very like fear mongering esque, like don't do this, don't do that. And I don't want to say, I don't think really all these things are necessarily malicious, like, oh, we should constrain people to never
yeah,
move so they buy our program. I don't really want to say that. um, but I do think potentially sometimes it's misguided, or it's like, hey, even if telling someone to not bend over and pick up a heavy weight is the right advice for today and tomorrow and the next week, that doesn't mean that should be the long-term rule for everyone. Like rehab is not a static kind of plan. There needs to be some sort of stepwise approach, which is
Yep.
why when we chat on the phone, I tell everyone our program takes months. There are 8 sections, 7 workouts, 56 individual 30-minute sessions where you're going to cover 120 skills. Like, I just don't know how else we change the narrative on rehab and back pain or shoulder pain, anything. Get it away from like 3 rules to like, it's a nuanced conversation. I don't know how else we change that conversation or even help people with that success unless we at Wealth or other, companies out there are able to provide some sort of system that is going to be lengthy and connect with people who are down for a lengthy process.
Yep, I agree. And I think one of the things for me that it again, not it's not malicious. They're trying to help too, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of gave me the impression of you're broken, you're not going to get better, so just avoid doing anything that could possibly um I don't say make it worse or cause you pain instead of let's get you moving to a point where you can do those things without pain, not give up on those things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a full field of. I was talking to a mother yesterday who's like 38. She's got 5 kids, and she's talking about pain management. And I'm like, personally, I really do not like the term pain management. There's a whole field, a whole system, a whole
Sure.
massive business opportunity in that field of pain management, in which it really is like, hey, here you are. We are just to manage and try to slow down the deterioration with medicine or whatever it is.
Sure.
It's just so not inspiring. And yeah, it does treat people like you're a glass bowl and like you break and you can't be put
Yep.
back together. It's like, dude, we're human beings. Like we are adaptable as well. We can
Sure.
come
Yeah.
into something with a lot of pain. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Like we've had some incredible stories. I'm trying to get this one guy on the podcast. I think he's a little apprehensive to share a story, but he fell 75 feet off a cliff when he was 18, broke his femur, broke his back, and didn't find us till 2 decades after doing the program. So he lived
Wow.
for 20 years after that accident. One of my favorite ones with a member, Joel, who was addicted to Oxycontin, had back surgery, almost lost his family, went
Hmm.
through the program coming off of Oxy,
Yeah,
out
I
of
think I saw that.
pain. You saw that one?
I think I saw that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that one.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm sitting here just like, whoa, because
Yeah.
people would tell me like this program was life saving in the exact mean that you can probably interpret, like this is the
Yeah.
last thing I'm going to do. So it's,
In pain.
yeah, really a privilege to just even be here and speak with you. I mean, like, I can't imagine you had a young kid, and I'm sure maybe you had some tough thoughts going through your mind at that time, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard. It sucked. But I don't know. I definitely wanted to get better,
Yeah,
and
you
I
did.
was I was I was willing to put in the work. It just felt like, I know most people don't think about this way. Maybe it's the financial planner in me, but it actually helped me to have some skin in the game, like to purchase a program, put some skin in the game where it's like, all right, I paid for this thing. I'm going to do it and do it the way they say. Um, I just felt like that was helpful, weirdly. Then if I'd found some free program online, it just wouldn't have had the same buy-in. So I feel like that was actually helpful, weirdly.
It I think you need that. And that's not to say like we need to charge 20K for our program so people have
Yeah.
buy-in,
I don't mean to be like the number one salesman for wealth, but it's good to spend money. No.
No, I agree. And it's funny. It's we've done like giveaways in the past, like during, promo times before a holiday sale. And we've probably done the giveaway multiple times. I don't think any of the people who have gotten the free program have done it. And it's not to say that you can't get something for free and not take value out of it, but I think you have to come to a place where you are willing to put skin in the game, and financial is one of them, time is the other. But I as you can imagine, I have a lot of conversations and phone calls, and I do distinctly remember just having a very even keel conversation at ease. I think we were on the same wavelength. There wasn't any convincing of me, or
No.
and I try not to do that regardless, because that's not a great way to conduct a conversation anyways, but it's very seamless. And the reason why that was very seamless was, I'm always transparent and honest about what I think the program's going to take. And I didn't tell you, hey, you're going to be fixed in a
It's
day.
easy. Yeah.
I think that'd be scummy, right? But, you were ready for that. And I think that is what it takes. Like, anyone listening, I assume if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube or Spotify, you have some sort of pain. And in your mind, you're probably contemplating like, hey, should I try to go for like a quick fix kind of thing? Or should I maybe start to think about what agency I have in my own body and what things I need to improve on? That's kind of ideally what we're trying to chat about here.
Yeah. It's funny. I was walking in thinking about the podcast, and that's one thing I would say is like, you have to take ownership over it. It's not going to be um, a doctor who fixes you. It's not going to be it's not going to be a new mattress, or, I mean, maybe you have some luck there, but it's most likely going to be you putting the work in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. What other, as a financial planner, do you see other parallels between what you chat about with your clients or how you conduct your business, mindset keyframes that you've seen have been correlated to the rehab process?
Yeah, I've always equated financial health and physical health. In my head, they're very similar. Saving kind of stinks. It's not spending, right? Eating healthy kind of stinks. It's not having the donut, right? And sometimes doing the right things are hard, right? It's hard to save money. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to be consistent with your workouts. So I've always sort of made that connection. I'm really into fitness, like we had talked about before.
Yeah, you sent
Um,
me a picture with some freaking washboard abs, man. I'm like, you got to be hovering at 7% body fat.
Yeah, but then, you should see that and you go, oh, like, fit guy, right? And then not know, can't sit for 30 minutes without pain, right? So you never know. Pain is so elusive like that.
Yeah.
And what is a fit body if you're in pain and you can't bend over, right? So I just thought, what better investment to make than in my health and how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was awesome. And I was able to, in that same thread for people who are active, I added this into my program. I didn't stop my workouts. I did this early in the morning, first thing, with my coffee while playing on the floor with my son. Like, you can make it, you can find the time. Do it while watching Netflix. There are some things that are difficult, will push you, but it's not going to get you out of breath, wanting to throw up. It's not that
Right.
kind of workout. Yeah.
No. How much time did it take you? And yeah, let's walk through what your schedule is. Also, let me know what your cutoff is on this.
6. So we got 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll wrap it
Um,
up in 10.
but yeah, so my schedule was I would just, again, I had bought into the program, I had bought in mentally. And so I was like, all right, how do I get this done? Do it first thing. So I would wake up, I would make my coffee, and with my coffee a lot of it's on the floor, right?
Yeah.
I would play with my son, drink the coffee, and do the workouts. And it's at your own pace, and they give you ranges. So if I had 20 minutes, it took 20 minutes. If I had 30, it took 30. But I tried to commit to, not skipping days as best I could, or, at least, let's say I didn't get to it one day. I would try to do it that evening, or try to do some of it throughout the day. Or when I'm resting while lifting, you can do these movements. They're not, a lot of them are not super strenuous. It's just, I won't even say tedious, but you
Yeah.
have to do it. It takes time. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
um,
I mean, yeah, tedious is, it's not sexy, I guess, fundamental. Sometimes basics gets a bad, I don't know, a bad connotation. It's like, oh, I'm beyond the basics. Like, well, no, you're not. But like, the basics build into something too, right? I think
yeah.
the tough thing about even saying the basics, like, this program can be so enlightening for people. Like, it seems like it's basic, but I don't even know if basics is the right word, because you've probably never learned a lot of these things before.
just what I was thinking is I I do not think it's basic. I think because like what I knew, right? When you're lifting or you're a runner, right?
Mm,
A lot of these exercises I had never even heard of, right? And they're simple. I will say that they're
yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
But as far as like the basics, if you ask somebody like, what are the basics of a workout? They'd say like, I don't know, bench press, squat, pull up, right?
Right.
That's not what this is.
Right.
And that's probably just a fundamental misunderstanding of me and a lot of people on what should be your foundation, what should be your basics. And this stuff now I see like, oh, it's important to have some mobility in your hips, in your spine, to be able to strengthen muscles that get neglected in the typical basics, your
Right.
hip flexors, your glutes. So I had heard of some of them before, but it's just not something, if you're like bodybuilder or you're a runner or something, you're probably not doing glute bridges and pelvic glides and,
No
you
way.
know,
For sure.
um, so I have a new appreciation for it. I mean, honestly, I mean this. I will probably do the program for the rest of my life as a part of my workouts now. Like, just, I love it. I love to feel better and move better. It's awesome.
Wow. That's incredible to hear. What, so, you're saying like some of the movements, I know you mentioned, it's tedious, right? And what we're getting at is like, you throw on the Limitless program and you look at it and you're like, it's not like super sexy and fun stuff to do, right? But what we're talking about, how it makes you feel, you're like, oh, that's what I want, right? And it supports the other things that I do like to do, right? And I know you were texting me, you like to golf. It sounds like you have a pretty big athletic past. I assume you are still kind of working on different, sports and stuff. So, I mean, what is that allowing you to do today?
Yeah, so it used to be like last year, anytime I would golf, um, whether it wasn't, even if I wasn't carrying a bag, if I was just pushing, I would leave the golf course in pain, practicing putting, practicing chipping, anything where I'm slightly bent over,
Wow.
right? And holding that, I would just leave in pain. So now, I mean, I can carry a bag 18 holes and not have back pain. So I would say as far as that goes, it's completely alleviated that.
Wow. So the body comp, the picture that you sent of you and your wife at the beach, seriously, I was very impressed. Have you more or less kind of hovered around that physique for a while?
No,
No, no.
no. That was yeah, that's been in my late 20s. Like in high school, I wanted to do that, but it's hard to get, your mom to cook you exactly what you want to eat and stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, so later in life, when I was like, oh, I can like, I'm a big meal prepper,
Okay.
so I would
So you
prep
do
my
that.
meals and the sort of not bulk and cut. I don't
Yeah. I mean,
neither
yeah.
here nor there, but
Yeah.
definitely go through like phases where I'm in one right now where I'm going to take 8 to 10 weeks and get super duper lean, which is really just eating clean and working out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really not that hard, but yeah, so that's
For
been
sure.
more in the past 4 or 5 years. I've made the effort to get super lean.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say about that was like, kind of going back to it, you have a great body composition and aesthetic, but then and then you're able to be proud of that, and I'm sure your wife sees that in friends and family and peers are like, okay, Luke is this athlete and takes care of himself, but then like going through and having pain underlying is it's kind of this
Yeah.
weird feeling. You're like, man, like I look great but I don't feel great,
Fair.
so that was something that I dealt with as well when I was going through college and very focused on aesthetics. What I will say was having the injury, I would say I probably had a borderline eating disorder and, body dysmorphia, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. Going through and having back pain, I would say almost in a sense, not only did I heal that, but it healed a lot of um, like body image issues in the
Mm.
way I look at food. Like I look more so at food now as nourishment and fuel, and like I'm way less volatile on my
Mm-hmm.
perception of my
Yeah.
aesthetics, though my aesthetics are they hover around the same. I'd say they're pretty good, but because I know I want to feel better, I'm like, okay, nutrition is important, but just looking good is probably not what I personally want. I want to feel good. I don't want to have back pain. I don't want to have these things. And then I'm able to train harder. I don't know if that's been like your experience moving through that as well.
Yeah, I mean, who cares what you look like if you can't bend over? You know what I mean? Like, um, uh, I
Yeah.
don't.
It's
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of,
that's as simple as I can put it.
it's kind of, pathetic is harsh, but I look back on it and maybe you're kind of like, I don't know if you laugh and like, man, that was kind of pathetic. I couldn't like carry it back. You know?
Yeah, no, I definitely put it off too long. That's
Yeah.
what I would say is I was, putting so much priority on work, on family, on aesthetics, on
Mm,
golf, right? But all it took was a little commitment, 20, 30 minutes a day to say, I'm going to address this issue that isn't going to, make me isn't going to make me look aesthetically better necessarily, isn't going to add 50 pounds to my bench press, isn't going to cut my mile time down, but I'm going to feel better and it will probably help all those things as well. I
yeah.
mean, so yeah, that's been I've definitely refocused. And I think there's some wisdom to it. Like I don't know how many have like young guys, but there is some wisdom to, okay, through your teens and your 20s, like, recovery super easy, injuries even recover super fast.
Right.
Now I'm more interested in longevity, right? Like I want to be lifting weights, exercising into 70s. You know what I mean? And I think that starts now, especially with your spine, right? Your back, in particular. I think if you ask anybody in their 50s or 60s, do you wish you took better care of your back when you were younger? They're going to say, absolutely, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think that's something I just have matured in a little bit. To say I'm gonna address my mobility issues, my back pain and flexibility to some extent.
Right. You know, it's funny though. Of course, you look back and we go, "Oh, I wish I would have done this or that." And you know, I think sometimes you need a high level of discomfort or pain to actually finally force and facilitate that change. And I know that was the same for me. Like when I got injured and then after I went through the program, I learned all these things. In hindsight, I was like, oh my gosh, I should have been doing this and that. And telling myself like my past self should have been doing that. But the reality is I would have never learned or made this change had I not had this level of
It's
pain.
true. That's
And
true.
I think, so that's, if you are forced and put in a position in which you have the pain, you might want to kind of think about, how to change and what that would mean for you. I know you got to run. Any last remarks? I really appreciate you, Luke, for hopping on.
Yeah, no, I would just say if you're thinking about it, do it. If you're not thinking about it, you should be. And yeah, dude, it was a massive, massive success. And like anybody, when you're purchasing a program online, I had some doubts, which you assuaged early, but now I have the proof, right? I mean,
Let's go. Well, and then
yeah,
I think we got to get you in the strength and conditioning program next, right?
yeah, maybe,
Hey,
maybe.
enjoy your golf. Enjoy your golf this summer,
Yeah,
and maybe pop in on that or keep doing Limitless for the rest of your life. Whatever. Either way, it sounds like we've accomplished our mission together. So thanks for joining, man.
absolutely. I appreciate it, Cam.
Hey, cheers.
All right.
All right, bye.